Hey, what's up YouTube? Today we're going to get out there and do some more work on my Predator swapped Chinese four-wheeler that I made. I'm going to get the front end straightened out, get it re-geared, and we're going to do some work on the engine. I've already got it tore down, and I'm going to show you guys some of the techniques I use to build engines. Also, I just reached over 100 subscribers, so I appreciate anybody that's subscribed to my channel. Big thank you. We're going to try to get that number up even higher. So let's go ahead and get to the video. Alright guys, I got to take this thing out and ride it yesterday, and it didn't go too bad. I had two issues. One, the alignment was horrible. I kind of just threw it together. I really didn't even eyeball it. I didn't even have the lock nuts tightened down on the tie rods. The tires were towed out real bad. I have a camber problem where I have too much negative camber. I'm changing that. I'm going to do an alignment, and I might give it a little bit more caster also. And the gearing wasn't quite right. It was geared too tall. They would get up to about 30 or 35, and it didn't even have the power to pull it anymore because it was geared too tall. Right now I'm cutting these A-arms right here so I can bring the top of this wheel out and get my camber where it should be. Alright, so I have this cut right here, and now I can pull my tire out and I'll tack weld this back where I want it. I'm putting this on my studs, making sure it's pretty straight up and down. My studs are. It's like right at 0 degrees. I actually want the wheel on the top to come out just a little bit. I'm going to pry down on it a little bit. Alright, now right there is exactly where I want it. So I got the camber where I want it. Now I want 7.5 degrees of caster here. So I'm going to hold this here, and you probably can't really see it, and it's hard to get my camera down there. But I'm setting this on here, and you can't hold it like this. It's got to be held level or it don't work properly. Now since I changed this, I'm going to have to check my camber again also. Bounce back to 6. So one more time here. Got my 7.5 degrees. I'm going to check my camber one more time because that might have changed with that, which it probably did, and it did tremendously. So now I need to bend that back in. And you got to just keep going back and forth till you get both of them right. So there's my camber. I'm going to come back here and check my caster one more time. My 7.5 degrees of caster. Double check this. I got 1/2 degree of negative camber, or positive camber. So now I'm going to tack this in. Alright guys, I'm out here. I'm doing hopefully what will be my final gear change. I just tacked this last time because this is my 4th gear change I've done trying to get the gearing right on this. I went from a 16 tooth sprocket to a 20, and then went from a 20 to a 26. Now I'm going down to a 24. And I just tacked this because I've bought so many hubs it's not even funny. That way I could do that right there and reuse it. Beautiful. Alright, I got this all cleaned up and I'm getting ready to weld it. Now what I do when I weld one of these sprockets is I clamp it on both sides, because when you weld it, if I weld this side, it's going to want to pull this side up. So I take these here clamps and kind of just get a clamp on it wherever I can. Alright, now that I've got the thing clamped, I'm going to go around and put a series of tack welds on it. At least 4 of them, if not more, to make sure that it doesn't move around while you weld it. You do not want to warp sprocket. Now, I'm going to leave it clamped. I'm going to weld these 2 parts, and then I'm going to take the clamps off and weld underneath the clamps. Alright, now that's enough of it welded where it's not going to fall apart on me, and I can test it out. If it ends up being the gearing I want, I can weld it the rest of the way in. If not, I can still cut it apart and change it and reuse this hub. Alright, as you can see, I have my engine apart. I went and rode it, did pretty good. Got the gearing what I thought was right. It would probably do 30-35 miles an hour, but it was only going up to 4,000 something RPMs. Now, once I do my cam, my valve springs, and all my other parts, it should go up over 8,000. So a gear that did 35 with that 40 something 100 RPMs should definitely, I should be happy with it. I've got this whole thing tore apart. I got the head clean, got the block clean, the crank clean, so I'm installing the billet rod. Well, before you do so, you got to check it with plastic gauge. First, you got to check your crank and make sure it's not out of round and it's the right size, and I already done that. This is pretty much a brand new motor. The crank was pretty nice and straight. So I put my bearings in my rod. I clean my rod, clean my bearings, I put them in my rod. I got a piece of plastic gauge sitting there. Now, what I'm going to do is you need to have your rod cap ready with the bearing in it, all clean and ready to go. Your crank also clean and ready to go. Install your crank in this without spinning it. You don't want to spin it and move your plastic gauge anywhere. I'm trying to hold my crank still so I don't spin that plastic gauge in there. You want to make sure it doesn't get in one of them oiling holes. There's 60 inch-pounds. Now, when you torque these, I'm going to snug them a little more, just so I know I can get everything in one turn. You bring the bolts to 60 inch-pounds, and then you add 20 inch-pounds each time, going back and forth between them till you get to 150. Then you back it back down to 100. Then you bring it back up to 150 again for moly lube. So now we're going to go to 80. Alright, now I've torqued this all down like I'm supposed to. I try not to spin the crank. If you spin the crank in the rod, it ruins your plastic gauge and you can't read it. Sticking my rod bolts back in my little box over here so I don't lose them. And I'm going to take this off very carefully. You can see how the plastic gauge smashed in there. So now what you want to do is you have a little chart over here that you want to hold it up to. It's definitely over 2 thousandths. It's about 3 thousandths. So that is within their range. I got the clearance all checked. It's good. I got the piston, rod, and crank installed. Now I'm torquing the rod down to spec. It's better to be a little too tight than a little too loose. Now I'm going to see how this thing spins over. It's not going to spin over quite as easy as normal. Alright, it's all moving pretty good. I'm not going to turn it over more than I need to. I got my short block put together. I got my piston, my rod, my camshaft in here. I'm just looking at the head. This is the old head gasket. This motor actually came with a thinner head gasket. It looks like the 10,000th head gasket that I have there. I'm not completely sure if it is. Measuring like 14 thousandths. So the head gasket I got's a little thinner, but that don't matter. This is the old head gasket. I'm using it to check everything. If you look at these valves right here, these valves are shrouded. What that means is on this side right here that there's no room for air to get out. If we look here, I'm going to measure the distance between here, between this and the valve, the edge of the combustion chamber and the valve. We have about 130 thousandths. Now we're going to do that to the edge of the head gasket and see what we have. Now we have 226 thousandths. That's what it should be between the valve, and basically you got to think about it. The edge of this piston ring lines up with the cylinder. If you take that out of there and deshroud the valve and take and clean this area up where it's back to the head gasket, it has a better transition with your cylinder wall and you get better cylinder fill. It really helps out on your exhaust too. You got to think when the air's coming up, it's hitting that edge, taking that little bit of compression away for the flow that you get. It's generally well worth it. Alright, so all I'm going to do is take my marker and mark around this. Alright, so I got my combustion chamber marked out. Now what I'm doing now is I'm taking little tiny pieces of tape and I'm going around here and covering my valve seats. So when I'm grinding on the combustion chamber, I don't nick my valve seats. It gives it a little added layer of protection. Or a layer of protection. And it doesn't hurt to go back and put a second layer of this on. And the reason I'm just ripping little pieces is because tape does not want to curve like that. So I'm just going through here and putting a bunch of little tiny pieces on here. I got no fingernails. Alright, so what I'm doing now is I've got this set at 204 thousandths. That's what I measured this other side out to be, and this side actually works pretty well there too. I'm holding my valve up past the surface slightly, just like that. It's not down below the surface of the head. It's got to be up above it just by a little bit. Then take your caliper, set it, and you put your caliper up against your valve like this. And what you want to do is go right around and scribe. Now if you can see it, I have a mark scribed around there, and that's where I'm going to take my Dremel and bring that back to and blend all that in there. I'm going to also do it on the other side. As you can see, I got a scribe mark on there too. Alright, now I'm going to take my head, my Dremel away from my engine. I really shouldn't be even doing it in here, but now all we're going to do is take this Dremel. I don't want the speed real high. Slowly take your time and take that out of there. Start slow. You get better with the tool. You go a little faster. A lot of people usually tap your low oil sensor hole and your governor hole and put bolts in them and do away with them. I don't like, you could put grease on your tap to catch metal shavings, but I don't like to do that. There's a bearing in there I don't pull, so I just epoxy these up. I've done this on my go-kart and it's been together for a while. It's not having any problems. You put epoxy in intake ports and stuff like that, I think it's going to be fine to seal that hole up and hold a little oil back. So I just mix a little up here. Usually I do it before I put my piston and rod in when it's just bare block, but just going to be careful not to slap a bunch in this big hole and get it inside my engine. I'll push it down in there too. That way I know it's taking up more of the hole, it's going to hold longer. Alright guys, I got this thing to the point where I can install my cylinder head. Got my valve springs put on there. I deshrouded the combustion chamber, and that's really all I did, and kind of blended that in. Maybe smoothed a few things out in the combustion chamber. That's all I did. I really don't want to get into a lot of work on it. So we're going to go ahead and install the head. We got our valve springs put on there. I ran 26-pound valve springs, but I shimmed them up 50 thousandths of an inch. So I'm going to check and make sure I'm not running into any coil bind issues. So to do that, we have to install the head. So now we're going to run our head bolts in, and we're going to torque them down to 17 foot-pounds. These are 26-pound springs at a 850 thousandths install height. Without me shimming it, they were actually like 880 thousandths. So I shimmed it 50 thousandths, so it's like an 830 install height. Give or take a couple thousandths. I'm just snugging these. So these are supposed to go to 17 foot-pounds. I'm going to bring them up to 17 foot-pounds. I'm going to start at 8. They really don't tell you to bring it up to it, but I'm gonna. It never hurts to slowly bring your torque values up instead of just bringing them straight up to what it is. Now I'm going to bring it up to 12. Now I'm going to bring them up to 15 and 17. We're going to go ahead and end the video here. It's starting to get pretty long. I appreciate you guys watching. For anybody that's subscribed to my channel, thank you. If you like what you're seeing, subscribe, like my video, comment, let me know what you think. Share it with friends. Try to spread this around. In the next episode, we're going to take and get the motor the rest of the way built and get it on there and go test this thing out. I appreciate you guys watching. Have a good one.